Hello everyone, episode 20, Road to Superbowl Season 2, your NFL preview of 2024 season for each and every single one of NFL teams. Today we're gonna talk about Miami Dolphins, and the question with Dolphins is really, should you be happy because the sun is shining outside, or will the conversation end up with your smile kind of freezing all over their face just as the Dolphins seem to be freezing in playoffs as they did at Arrowhead last season. So, we all remember where the season ended, and I would say like one key part of this offseason that Dolphins have done was extending not only Jalen Waddle but also extending Tua Tagovailoa, and they've extended him to 4 years, 212 million, with 167 million guaranteed. And as much as I actually like Tua, he's one of the few players that in times when I was not watching college football, he was the guy that I tune up for Alabama games for. I think that when he was drafted 5th overall, it was much more a question of his health rather than his quality. I think this is a huge mistake by the Dolphins. And Tua, to me, is exactly the type of quality of a QB that I think teams need to stop signing to these massive extensions. Give him 3 years, 120 million, I have zero problem with that. 4 years, 210 with almost 170 guaranteed. That's a mistake, in my opinion. And before we go about this team, I need to justify this high stand on Tua, on a guy that I'm rooting for. I genuinely want him to succeed. If there is top 20 players in terms of NFL, perhaps let's put everyone out that it's not a Seahawk out there, because I would be rooting for Seahawks players, all of them, pretty much. Tua would be on that list, probably even cracking top 10. But I'm looking at this from general manager business side of things, and from that area, Tua is. I have two major problems with Tua signing. First, I think while he unlocks this Mike McDaniel system, while he perfectly unlocks the two main weapons that he has in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, with his super quick release, his accurate throws, like short, when he hands them, it's almost like handing them a ball, but it's like 10 yards down the field, where they will receive the ball and make their magic out of it. While he does that, I don't think he's particularly special in anything else, and there will be time when this team won't have Tyreek Hill, who has just been voted ESPN Top 100 player as number 1 player for last season in terms of NFL, and I think you can get behind that stat. He is truly exceptional, clearly one of top 2 wide receivers in terms of league with Justin Jefferson. And for this system, he is by a country mile the best one. Like Justin Jefferson could not do with Dolphins what Tyreek Hill does. Like the match with him, Mike McDaniel, and Tua is really great. But you won't be able, first of all, he's getting older in terms of Tyreek, so he will lose his speed eventually. Like someday he won't be able to just run past everyone. And second of all, like right now, with Jalen Waddle and with Tyreek Hill, you and Tua, you are spending 150 million annually on this trio. Not to mention that some of Tyreek Hill's money you've already pushed down the line. So in terms of the cap hit that is kind of rest on his contract is around 40 million. So it's 120 million for this trio. And that's almost half of a cap space. Still, they haven't won you a playoff game. It was just one that they get into, and the year before it was like Tua was injured, and last season, if we just beaten Buffalo, we would be playing at home. It was kind of shitty conditions at Arrowhead. It really doesn't suit our football. But that's January football. January football is much more about being physical, and that's not necessarily what this team has and what those three actually offer you. So I truly believe that Tua is the third most important piece of this offense, behind Tyreek Hill and behind Mike McDaniel. And when there won't be any Tyreek Hill, whether you just cannot afford to pay these three guys, or he will retire, he will focus on 2028 Olympics or whatever. Asking Tua to be the leader of this team, to be a guy that pushes you over the edge, I just don't necessarily see qualities that would make him do it, unless those are the qualities that unlocks Tyreek Hill, unlocks Jalen Waddle, but those are special players. Like Tyreek Hill obviously is absolutely monster, and you won't find another Tyreek Hill. Like Jalen Waddle is really exceptional, but if it's just Tyreek, if it's just Jalen and Tua, it's good, but it's nothing that the defenses should be like extremely worried about. And you would still have like 80 millions committed to these two players. And this doesn't say about Jalen that he is not great, and it doesn't say that Tua is not great. Like I have important started grade on him, but oh god, it seems like cats are either really agreeing with me or disagreeing, because they are fighting tooth and nail. And they are showing even more physicality than kind of Dolphins in January. Sorry. But let's go back to Tua. I just don't see any special part of his game aside of this that I think is really unlocked by Mike McDaniel and Tyreek Hill. It would tell me he has potential to be top 10 QB in the league. As of right now, I think he's 12 to 14, around that range, and I think he probably will stay about that. And when Tyreek Hill ends his career, or when they won't be able to afford him, or Mike McDaniel won't be here, I think he will slide into, just like in that mid-range of QBs that, in my personal opinion, you should not be paying premium money for, because they will be good enough to like keep you around playoff hopes, year in, year out, but they won't be able to put you into Super Bowl contention. And for this reason, I really think that this team just entered kind of a purgatory, because I just don't see Super Bowl in their reach. Perhaps post this season, like this might be their best season, and given a lot of things that I will have to say about this roster that doesn't seem like they are Super Bowl contenders even this season, it feels like a problem. Because, for example, for next year, they already have 335 million committed in cap space. That's 65 million over this year cap hit, and even if you project that perhaps 8% increase, it's still about 50 million over that. Good luck, really good luck, figuring this one out. And unfortunately, it doesn't end there with Tua, because as much as you hate this conversation, as much as you could hate me for bringing this one up, like it's like 18 to 20 months or 22 months from now, like if we put back. And I was thinking Tua should retire for his own health. Like those images were absolutely scary. Like he was knocked out, he didn't know about the world, it was repeat concussion, and I was thinking like, dude, don't risk your health. And obviously, as a fan of the sport, as a fan of the player, you just hate to see those images. You just hate to see what happened to him. And if there's a guy that is signed for a long-term, big contract with quarterbacks, that you unfortunately have to say, well, there is over 10% chance that he will be forced to retire due to medical reasons in duration of that contract. Unfortunately, I think it's Tua. And like, I don't hate myself for saying that, it just feels true. I have zero intention for that to happen. I like, boy oh boy, like, I'm not a horrible person, don't get me wrong. But you have to take that into an account when you are signing this player for such a huge contract with so much money guaranteed. And when you put those two things combined, it just feels like a huge overpay in my opinion. About 10 million more a year, about a year longer, about 10 million per year in guarantees more than I would be willing to pay to. It's not like he doesn't deserve to be paid. It's not like he's not great. But this contract to me is screaming. Sorry? I was like, my cats are trying to imitate Tyreek Hill because they are really speeding. Sorry. But this contract just, in my mind, is wrong. It's what misunderstanding in my eyes of how can we reach a Super Bowl kind of looks like. I cannot remember a team to sign a player that is heavily dependent on other guys. If his own merit, I would say it's about 12 to 14 best QB. Too huge deal, and winning Super Bowl, kind of not even getting there. Like, give me an example like last 5 years. I'm trying to reminisce. Let's just for fun, because my memory are just like it's just shit. But let's just check it out, okay? So we had obviously Kansas versus San Fran. So you have a rookie deal, Brock Purdy against future possible GOAT in Patrick Mahomes. So obviously rookie deal guy, you are not paying him in case of Brock Purdy anything. Patrick Mahomes, future GOAT. No, we don't have to have that conversation. Kansas versus Philly. I think Jalen Hurts is above Tua what he is. He is a top 10 QB in the league. He has several ways how he can beat you. And I would say his football is much more translatable to January. So, and I'm not sure if he was getting paid through that season or if he got paid after that, but you get my point. Rams versus Bengals. Clearly Matthew Stafford, at that point of the time, top 5 QB in the league. I would say he still is about the 5th best QB in the league. Against Joe Burrow, at that time, still on his rookie deal, already kind of top 5, top 7 QB in the league. Before that, Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes. Like, what do you want me to say? Before that, it's San Fran versus Kansas, Mahomes versus Garoppolo. That's maybe where you could point out that Garoppolo was getting paid, but not necessarily top league money. And at that point of the time, yeah, okay, well, that might be it. But it was with incredible crop of talent around him and Kyle Shanahan. So there is a way. Also, it came from worse conference, so you can you see that. Before that, it was Jared Goff, I think, on his rookie deal still as a number 1 pick against Tom Brady. Then it was Carson Wentz turned to be Nick Foles against Tom Brady, so it was exceptional guy still on a rookie deal, replaced to be one of the greatest fairy tale story of the century, but still, Nick Foles was not taking any money at that point. So I really don't see type of a player as a Tua in terms of quality reaching a Super Bowl in past years, perhaps with exception of Jimmy Garoppolo as that 1 year. And even if you go down the pecking order, Matt Ryan versus Tom Brady, exceptional. It was almost like did he won MVP at that season, Matt Ryan, against Tom Brady, obviously. Then it's Peyton Manning against Cam Newton. Cam Newton's MVP year, and Denver with Peyton Manning. Was he top 10 QB at that point of time? No. Okay. Then Brady versus Russell Wilson on rookie deal. Russell Wilson versus Peyton Manning when he was exceptional, and we go further down the line. So Okay, there were like two examples where you can point out that someone like that got into Super Bowl. But in one case, it was Peyton Manning, on his like last down year with the best defense in the league, and the other was Jimmy Garoppolo with kind of crazy as roster talent and Kyle Shanahan. So you have to hit really specific opportunities for that to be even a possibility. I think we are done with this. For Tua, like nice, really nice for you. You secured your family for the future. I think I would say that, like from my let's put my analytic brain behind me, and just go down from the heart. I'm super happy for him because it also kind of means that in the future, when there could be a possibility he has to choose between like risking his health and playing football, I think, and playing football or like staying away from the game, I think he can make a decision similar to Andrew Luck and like step out and be secured for his life as well as his family, because that's obviously one of the ultimate goals for all of the players. They want to secure the bag for themselves, for their family, to secure them for life. So Tua has that. Wish it to him. Truly deserves it, in my opinion, in terms of what he is as a person, but what he is as a player, what he brings towards this team in terms of Super Bowl upside. I think it's a massive reach in terms of pay. I had to get it out because I need to give you my honest opinion how I feel like this team set themselves up towards success in this offseason. And with Tua, I just feel like they did not do a great job. But let's go and check out what their draft looked like. And they started with Chubb Robinson, who was not my favorite draft pick. And I'm kind of like between B and C minus for him. And this all depends on health of Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips. From my understanding, like in terms of not only they have like towards the start of the season, but especially in terms of Nick Chubb, Bradley Chubb, not Nick Chubb. Well, also we have Nick Chubb question about his injury. Right? For Bradley Chubb, how the injury he suffered last year will influence kind of his ability to go and be who he is going forward. So if they had really huge question marks about both of these guys' health, then I'm going with a B or A minus for this pick. But if the belief is, and in general Phillips, it seems like it's the case that he is back, he should absolutely be okay for week 1. With Bradley Chubb, that's more up in the air. Then it's to me it's more C minus type of grade. So I eventually ended up with like a C because I don't know this internal information. And the reason for it is not necessarily that this is too high for him. It's just a slightly, in my opinion, like a couple of spots. Not necessarily this is not a position of value. It absolutely is. My big problem for this is I think there is some gaping holes in this team's roster. And if you guys think that Bradley Chubb is going to be out there, and Jalen Phillips as well, you don't need Chubb Robinson, right? Like, this is already a position that you've invested heavily in Bradley Chubb. You are most likely to invest even more heavily in Jalen Phillips. And now we are doing this. Like, what are we doing here? Like, you should be set up in this position. You cannot have insurance for a position that you already spend so much on. Perhaps the thinking is, well, we will trade Jalen Phillips. Because, like I said, down the line, they will be super careful with their money and they might not be able to extend Jalen Phillips to the money. So, in that case, it might end up favorably for Chubb Robinson and this pick. But as of right now, I think he was just a luxury that you cannot afford. Especially when I really believe this is a year that you should be trying to attack, trying to going for it. Because from next year on, Tua's cap hit are starting to going to hit, and good thinking like figuring out the depth in the squad with 120 million committed to Tyreek, Jalen and Tua. Then Patrick Paul, Um, I'm gonna just repeat what I said about Job Robinson with him and Jalen Wright. Like, I don't hate the players. I don't hate the position they've been drafted at in terms of round and overall. But you have your tackles. You have Devon Armstead. You have Austin Jackson. And despite Devon Armstead is most likely than not going to miss like 5 to 7 games, you still have Kendall Lamb as like decent enough backup that should be kind of similar to Patrick Paul as of right now in his current ability. So you have holes and you're picking guys that you just don't need right now. Like, I understand that, in the future we will have to make some hard decisions about this roster, so we want to be prepared for that and like applauding for you. But I think that applies much more when you will have a guy that can drag you to the Super Bowl with a bunch of young talents around him, and I just don't think that's Tua. So it kind of speaks that you again try to similar to Atlanta. That it feels like they try to have it both ways, like both be good right now, trying to attack the Super Bowl, as well as be prepared for the future. I just don't think that Tua is that type of a player that allows you to do it. I think there are only 4 players that allow you to do it: Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and Joe Burrow. I don't think it's anyone else but these guys. So with everyone else, I just think you should have clear number 1 plan, and then with your less resources, focus on the future, or focus on the future and kind of sack the present. With those 4 guys, I think you can try to do both because they will absolutely elevate you. But for anyone else, I don't think that's applicable. And it feels like what they are kind of doing. So he's their 4th best tackle as of right now. And Chop is their 3rd best edge if those guys are healthy. So, yeah. And the same is for Jalen Wright. He's at best your 1st best running back. And ideally a player that doesn't touch the field in year 1. Or even year 2 behind Raheem Mostert and Devon A-Chain. So, what are we doing? Then Mohamed Kamara, kind of a nice pick. I think he has an upside and he gives you quite a nice floor for linebacker. Not necessarily again position that they desperately need, but behind the 2 guys that they have listed as starters, which are Jordan Brooks and David Long, Mohamed Kamara could be a one that will replace one or the other, 1 year or 2 years from now, to just provide you with cheaper option that hopefully at that point will kind of replace them even in terms of skills. So, with your 1st rounder, okay, I get it, but still, I haven't seen signing a player, with the exception of Job Robinson, that should be in the starting lineup. And Chop is going to be there, I would say, mainly if either Nick Chubb or Jalen Phillips aren't healthy. Because if they are, I think he will be starting on the bench. And again, I just don't think that's applicable to you if you want to go for a Super Bowl this season, which I definitely believe that they should have tried. Malik Washington, probably my most favorite pick of this draft for the Miami. I think he was a steal. I had him as around that 100 to 130 type of range. So this is almost like a 2-round steal. And he has a chance to emerge as this team's 3rd best wide receiver, especially if Odell Beckham kind of injuries will slow him down, or if they will kind of save him for later into the year. Though this team does not necessarily use his 3 wide receiver sets that often. With Patrick McMorris and Taj Washington, I have nothing really to say. Now, let's switch to offensive side of the ball, and we have to start with head coach Mike McDaniel, who earns himself an A+ rating and grade for his offensive prowess. And first 2 months of the season, he looks like the best offensive mind in football. He even separates himself from Shanahan and McVay in those 2 months. But so far, whether it's through inability of Tua, whether it's through just him not being to reinvent the scheme throughout the season, when we go to cold weather environment, more of the December and January games, the offense just loses a lot. That's why I think this is really fitting picture for Miami Dolphins. They can rise super high, but then they kind of freeze. So hopefully we can see adjustment from Mike McDaniel. But as of his ranking, I cannot go anywhere but A+, because it feels like he is the most innovative guy in the NFL from an offensive mind position, of offensive mind head coach, offensive coordinator, whatever you want to call him. Like, he is the guy responsible for this offense. And it's not like being innovative just for being innovative. Like, those stuff works. But then the adaptation comes, and then you just kind of need to do the next step, and whether it's through the weather, to us shortcomings, or through Mike McDaniel's shortcomings, he just hasn't not been able to necessarily deliver that counter punch. So let's figure out what he has to work with. We already talked about Tua. While I disagree with what he got paid, and I think it really puts this team in bad position going forward, he is, to me, like 12th best quarterback as of right now in the league. His numbers are ridiculous, though they are mostly after the catch. He has really, like, how to say it so it doesn't look like I'm his hater. So he doesn't have the best arm in the league, or an average arm in the league, but he's perfect for what they need of him. But again, we talked about, like, I'm not gonna go down that road again. So his numbers to me are inflated by the system, by Tyreek Hill, by Mike McDaniel, and he just simply has not been able to deliver even what he is capable of in games when it matters. And in that, he kind of is, for me, similar to Dak Prescott, who I would put slightly ahead of Tua, especially in terms of like regular season, but they both have really not delivered when it matters, and the question is, can they? Like, Tua obviously had less chances, but let's see how this ages up. I cannot say I could not be happier if I'm wrong on this, because I could be happier if, like, Seahawks won the Super Bowl rather than if Tua became an excellent. But like, if I'm wrong with this take, I will gladly eat my words. Let's put it this way, because I would be happy if this works out for Tua. As far as his backup, Mike White, you just hope he doesn't have to play. That's also where, like, Tua's health kind of comes, and you are like, okay, you just hope he stays healthy. And I will just move the conversation for the first time. We will skip the running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. We will get back to them, because I want to have a conversation about this offensive line. And I think when you are making this investment, you should be able to protect it much better than they are able to. With, like, one note that I think puts Tua contract into a brighter light, is because he's so quick with his release, because he can use those speedballs of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, like, uber quickly. There is not necessarily a need to have an exceptional O-line that doesn't allow the pass rush to get to, like, ever. So he kind of protects the O-line in a way. But still, eventually you will have to drop back. You will not be able to do 2.2 second release every single play, and you need to get protected. And when you have an injury concern, really major, I would say, still health concern about Tua's long-term health situation, choosing this as kind of the best that we can do in terms of protection. I'm not super happy with, because your best piece is Terran Armstead. And he is important starter when he plays, but for him, it's like every year he misses kind of half of the season. And it's not like with Chubb and Phillips, where their injuries I kind of didn't include that much into rankings for the defensive line, because it was like one major injury that they should recover from. But with Terran Armstead, it's like, you know, you'd never know from which angle it comes, but it's going to be this, you know, for 2 games, the other thing for another 3 games. So he will miss 6 to 8 games every single year, and that has to like come down for the grade for this offensive line, because he's by far your best piece, and he is left tackle, which for Tua, given that he is reverse-handed, like he throws with his left hand, he is less needed to be out there, other than like for right-handed throwing QBs, because he's not protecting his blind side. But that's Austin Jackson's job, and he is probably your second best offensive lineman, and he kind of flirts for me with like a good backup grade. Like he is just, you know, just reached that decent starter grade for me. So those are your 2 best pieces that, for one, you cannot count on him half a season most of the time, and the other is like 25th best right tackle, but you kind of need for him to protect the blind side, and it was reversed for guys that are protecting blind side of the quarterbacks, he would be probably like a 28th best in terms of like left tackle. So you know, we need to reverse it because of importance of that position. So that's a problem. Then you have Patrick Paul and you have Kendall Lamb as your backups. I would say Kendall Lamb is a better one, and he is decent enough pass blocker. So for what it's worth, like he should be able to protect Tua good enough in case of either Armstead or Jackson are injured. But he doesn't elevate you on, like he drags your run game down really a lot. And then you have Kendall Lamb that we talked about, Aaron Brewer and Liam Eichenberg. From these guys, Aaron Brewer should be your center as a starter. And he is like a really nasty run blocker. Like he plays with tenacity that his small body frame kind of should not almost allow him to do. But it makes him really, truly horrible pass protector. And if you can align like a huge defensive tackle against him, and he will just bull rush through Aaron Brewer and goes like this against Tua in like 1.5 seconds. Well, first of all, you are not getting a successful payout, and second of all, you should be worried about Tua's health. So having such a huge liability in terms of pass protection for your center, that's a problem. And it's not like the guys next to him with Robert Jones and Isaiah Wynn are anything special. Like to me, they are good backups. Like they are, 35-ish best, right guard, or 55-ish best left guard. Like they should not be starting. Like if they are your worst piece, one of them, and you have 4 better guys next to them, it's okay. But that interior is just insanely bad. It's probably the worst interior in terms of league. It's also, you come with Isaiah when has injury concerns, and your best kind of replacement level is like Liam Eichenberg, who's been really, really poor for them. So I'm hugely worried about the state of this offensive line, and therefore about Tua's health, because I think he will get hit really hard. Like compare this to last season when they had Robert Hunt and when they had Connor Williams, who by their own rights, when they're healthy, obviously they had health issues as well, but when healthy, Robert Hunt is top 10, like somewhere between like 10 and 13 best guard in the league, like overall, not right guard and left guard, overall as a guard. And Connor Williams, I would say, he's in the same rank in terms of centers. So that's a huge downgrade for this offensive line that they have just suffered. And unless you absolutely roll your great fortune with Devon Armstead and himself, this offensive line will be an issue, no matter how much Tua quick release is kind of a saving grace for these guys. So the fact that you are putting that much of an investment behind this, that makes me worried for this team going forward. But now let's talk about running backs of this team. And for so far it was kind of a lot of negative things that I had to say. Despite I am a fan of Tua, I swear to God, like really, I am. But let's talk about running backs. And Raheem Mostert and Devon A-Chain are one of the best running back duos in the league. To me, they are in that rank of Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, over guys like Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. So not necessarily there is no elite guy here. But as of a duo, I will put them like Bijan and Tyler like in a similar type of group. And both of these guys had monster season. Raheem Mostert was your touchdown machine. He like combined receiving and rushing touchdowns. He had 21 of them last season. Still had 4.9 yards a carry. And then Devon A-Chain was just this absolute revelation that like a small running backs can absolutely thrive in modern NFL, because 7.5 yard a carry, and it's not like it's on small sample size, like he had over 100 carries. That's freaking nasty, and he obviously can be a threat in terms of receiving game as well, because it's just about like giving a ball to his hand and he will make a problem for the defense. Again, another part that Tua can definitely use of him. So exceptional duo with question: can Devon A-Chain repeat what he has done last year? Will there be injury problems for him, because there were last season? And if not, and if he can repeat, this could easily be even best running back duo in the league. Like they have that potential. So really nice room. Beside them there is Jeff Wilson. So again, when we talk about Jalen Wright draft, like he is number 4. It's not like it's Devon A-Chain and Raheem Mostert, like two of best duo running backs in the league. No, you have Jeff Wilson behind them. That is actually quite a capable back. So why are you drafting a 4th guy into this room? It's just beyond me. Let's, especially when you see that offensive line, it's almost offensive to not draft an offensive lineman, and rather go for Jalen Wright there. So let's continue. Let's focus on wide receivers. What do you want me to say about Tyreek Hill? 1,871 yards last year, including playoffs. The dude is just exceptional. He doesn't seem to be losing the speed as of right now. He will probably eventually gonna get that. He has actually quite nice like body control, body strength for let's say smaller type of wide receiver. He actually is really bulked up. Like when he puts his shirt off, like you can see that he is muscly very well and doesn't decrease his enormous speed. So I think it's absolutely justified that he was voted the NFL best player for last season. I think I cannot say more to that. Then Jalen Waddle, truly one of the best wide receiver number 2 anywhere on the league. It's like T. Higgins with Jamar Chase, and I would put him over Cooper Kupp next to Puka Nacua. Let me think. Is there another duo that I would put over this? Like Brandon Ayuk with Debo. I would probably take Jalen Waddle over him. Though that's a really close debate. And like with Debo, it's like he's kind of a weird player, right? So is there any other like Devonta Smith, AJ Brown? I would put Jalen Waddle over Devonta Smith. So like for a lot of teams, he would be serious great number 1. Here's the number 2. He absolutely fits the system. He got paid. The only question for them is like, how do you expect to make a successful team with 120 millions being committed to Weddell Hill and Tua each season? That's my only question. It's just a minor one. But for what they are on the field, they are exceptional weapons. Then Odell, is he even a good starter at this point of his career? I would probably still have him at that, but we kind of don't know when he hits the field. It might be that they will just try to save him for later part of the season. Some guy that has an experience of winning it all. And if he kind of wants to prove himself out, he could be a legit weapon. Perhaps it's more like, well, I really want to play in games that matter. It's like nobody knows kind of with his injury, so it's a weird situation. I understand why they signed him. I do not expect necessarily huge things from him. I would say Malik Washington, if I'm not mistaken, could have bigger impact on this offense than even Odell. Let's move to backup options. It's Braxton Barrios, it's Malik Washington. Braxton is kind of your nice backup in terms of he is even better than that in my opinion. The question is how much of a playing time will he actually have here, because I think Malik will try to overtake his position, and with Odell we just don't know. But they also don't use 11 personnel that much, so it should be about that 300 snaps for him, I think, and Malik could get about 200, and the question is where we see Odell. Let's move on towards tight ends. Jonnu Smith, Durham Smythe, nothing to write home about, but they should have their use for this team. And that's kind of a problem, because they are actually not that good, right? Like Jonnu Smith, I think decent starter is as good as I can say about him. And for Durham Smythe, I think even good backup is something that people might not agree with. So the fact that you want to use 12 personnel quite often is a worrying sign. Like, you don't necessarily have the tight ends, but it's not like they necessarily have to do much in that system, right? It's much more we want to have them out there kind of to gain physical advantage over the defense, that either they react to that, therefore it's going to be super hard for them to have the ability to kind of double Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, because they just won't have the speed enough, though it's hard to have speed enough for Tyreek, but you understand. So what their role is essentially is to force defenses to go into different personnel that is much more about the body mass rather than quickness, and then if they go out there with that personnel, then Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle should absolutely feast on the defense. And if they don't, then you have your Raheem Mostert, Devon A-Chain, and they should be using the lighter backs that they will try to stop them, and these tight ends could have advantage over guys that they are facing, which are not necessarily blockers, linebackers, or defensive tackles. So that's pretty much the use for these guys. So if you can live up with actually not having great tight ends, yet you want to use them a lot, this is kind of the role that can be, and you can make it work with the system. Still, if you had someone that can kind of do both and be actually a threat, even in receiving game, and be a great pass blocker, I think it could elevate this system to a next level. So it's kind of a shame that we cannot see anyone like that in this offense. Imagine George Kittle. I know it's from the dreamland, but imagine George Kittle in this good freaking or obviously Travis Kelce, but that's a dreamland. That's a freaking dreamland. You cannot there is no way you can put a roster that includes all of these players. So you have to take your pay cuts somewhere, and this team kind of does that with their tight end room and with their offensive line, and try to adjust. And for that they created a system that doesn't rely on those two positions being super quality too much. It kind of protects them. But I think that's functional for like 70-80% of snaps, 70-80% of games. But when it really matters, I just don't think that will give you the edge over the opposition. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Now let's take a look at defensive side of the ball for Dolphins, and they will have a new defensive coordinator in Anthony Weaver, another kind of disciple for the Ravens staff from Mike McDonald's system. I'm sorry, I'm just like they are just so similar, and they are both like exceptional coaches. And you know my problem with names, so I'm sorry if sometimes I just say Mike McDaniel instead of Mike McDonald at reverse. So sorry for that. So he comes from that, but this is his first time he's going to be a play caller, so I need to see him doing some good job before I can carry him out better. But still, C- kind of tells me I have a faith in this hire, and especially when there's a lot that he can work with. Here, unlike with O-line, I'm really having this defensive line ranked with healthy Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips, because long-term injury that you should recover from is to me something different that if every year you miss 8 games like it's the case with Terran Armstead. But obviously this is expecting both of these guys can recover and be what they were before their injury. And what they were? Pretty nasty duo. So Bradley Chubb had kind of career best year, and then he got injured. So it's unfortunately the second injury to the same leg, second big one, ACL, and you don't know if he is going to be out there. But last time I've seen him, I've seen an amazing starter in him, seen a guy terrorizing the offensive lines, and really guy worth the money they paid for him, and even the first round draft pick that they sent it to them for him. With Jalen Phillips, he's just a great counterpart on the other side of the line. I would say the edge duo that you don't necessarily hear that much about, but one of quietly those duos that don't have that true superstar, but are really like next to each other in terms of their quality, and that makes them really special because that quality is super high. Then you have Chip Robinson behind them. Like I said, I don't think this is necessarily a position of need, but he should be able to play a lot. One problem with him, he is not really good run defender. So as I've graded the defensive line plus linebackers, it's much more about pass rush for this group rather than about their run defense. And they should have had Shaquille Barrett, but they signed him for 1 year deal and then he retired. Instead of him, they brought Calais Campbell, and it's not like you are switching the players necessarily, though in terms of quality, in terms of experience, you kind of do. Both of them could be a future Hall of Famer. They had an amazing career, and Calais Campbell is still a good addition towards this group, but he's going to be edge that will need to slide more inside and defend most, like his best ability is run defense, but he much more does it from not necessarily the inside of the defensive line, and that's what he will be asked to do because they don't really have that much beside him. Zach Sealer is your one like nice piece next to Calais Campbell, who I would rank also as a good starter. And this is a piece that you are happy with. Like if he is your second best interior guy, you are super happy. And here's the problem. Like he is with Calais your kind of best, and you really don't have anything beside that. Like Benito Jones, Neville Gallimore, and Tiertat, whom they actually released. Like he signed with someone else. I don't remember. Like he was supposed to be on the roster. He's not anymore. Like he was not a consequential part of this D-line anyway. Benito Jones, Neville Gallimore, like you kind of hope they don't have to touch the field, but the question is who will. They have Emmanuel Ogba, but he's an edge piece, so he's much more like replaced to if Bradley Chubb cannot play. And I just don't know like how do you set this defensive line up? Like your best case scenario is probably something like Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, then it goes Calais Campbell and Zach Seiler, and then Benito Jones like as that, you know, true interior D-line piece. And you are kind of missing the quality for that interior. And that's also like expecting everyone to be healthy. This group doesn't have a lot to offer in terms of run defense and in terms of depth. So that's where, like with Chop, I kind of understand why you try to bring him in, but I would rather, you know, trade down and get like two bodies into this room rather than one, because I truly think you are missing at least starters you are not worried about out there. Like that's Neville Gallimore. Good luck to you. This is, you know, like in terms of pass rush, I think you are absolutely fine if Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips are out there, and Chop is a really nice compliment towards them. And in terms of run defense, again, like what were we saying about Dolphins? They struggle against the physical football. And, you know, like they just will probably do it again. I don't see them being very good against teams that want to run the ball against them. Let's move towards their linebackers, who, despite, like, you don't see a good starter here in terms of my grades, though both of these guys are like really close, in my opinion, towards that grade. Really top of the rank in terms of decent starters, and they actually make a room that I would say is, again, kind of generic in terms of league. You have your nice, good backup in Duke Riley. There's also Anthony Walker, it's another good backup for this room. And your two decent to good starter type of starters in Jordan Brooks and David Long. So they should not be a problem. The good thing about them is they are both really good run defenders in terms of linebacker. So they are providing at least some lift to that defensive line that should struggle actually defending run. So both of these guys will help with that. But also overall, it's again kind of generic linebacker room that you live by, but doesn't elevate you and doesn't sink you. But it's, as a netto, is slightly minus. Really, like I spend a lot of time talking about these type of rooms, and I just don't want to do it anymore. Sorry guys. Anthony Walker, Mohamed Kamara as your backups. Oh, like for what it's worth, this room is actually really deep. So yeah, if that matters somehow for linebacker rooms, yeah. Okay, like yeah, there are some injury concerns for Jordan Brooks, so it's kind of good to have these guys out there. But yeah, let's move towards where the discussion for this defense really starts to be extremely exciting, because Javon Holland, one of the most underrated safeties in the league. Like I would say there will be actually a lot of people that kind of never heard about Javon Holland. Yet I would say he is easily top 10 safety in the league. I would go as high as like number 7. He is truly special. He's just that one tier behind guys like Antoine Whitfield, Jesse Bates, and like if there are safety duos out there that are truly a huge plus for this team, it's actually him and Jordan Poyer, because as much as he's out there, he's getting there with his age. I still think he's quite a good player and a guy that will give this room a shit ton of experience. He will be a leader on the field, and man, his team can play. So as combined, this is to me like a top 5 safety duo in the league, or maybe top 7 with Atlanta bringing Justin Simmons. So that kind of pushes every every other rooms like down in the pecking order because they're, to me, the best safety duo out there, Justin Simmons and Jesse Bates. But really good room, someone you are happy with, and with Elijah Campbell, and they have a veteran in Marcus May, you can live with this depth. And the good thing is that the great conversation doesn't stop there, because they've done one of the best moves in the offseason. Like, for what it's worth, their free agent acquisition were kind of spot on, like exceptional value in my opinion. 1 year, $2 million for Calais Campbell, really absolutely worth it. And 2 year, $15 million for Kendall Fuller. Like, how? How? To me, this guy is like 12 million a year at least worth of corner. Like, okay, he's bottom of the amazing starter tier, you know. Despite him having the same grade as Jalen Ramsey, there is like a tier in between them, because Jalen is top of the amazing starter, Kendall is kind of bottom of amazing starter. So, you know, if you just put them, like, let's say both of them are 5% lower in terms of my grades, it means Jalen Ramsey is in the middle of amazing starter tier and Kendall Fuller is kind of in the middle of important starter. So there is almost a tier between them, though they have the same grades, right? So let's put it out of the question that I don't think that Jalen Ramsey is as bad, or Kendall Fuller, it's much more about Kendall Fuller being as good as Jalen Ramsey, right? But still, I think he is easily your top 3, number 2, okay, maybe top 5, and guy that absolutely should have been given much more money than this. I don't get why he settled for this. I don't necessarily think like they offer so much Super Bowl upside that you would be like, okay. I also don't see like that many injury concerns in his history that he would just have to settle for this kind of money. So kudos to Miami, and kind of head scratcher for Kendall Fuller to take such a small amount, though, like 15 minutes, like, yeah, give me 15 minutes, right? And then you have Jalen Ramsey, who, after the injury, he was not necessarily the old Jalen Ramsey, who has been the best corner in the league at his prime. As of right now, I don't think he's anymore at that prime. I still think he's an amazing starter. Top 10 in terms of cornerback. Some would probably say because of his name, he's higher than that. To me, like probably 7th, 8th, something like that. But still, absolutely exceptional cornerback number 1 for this team. And next to Kendall Fuller, there is only one duo that I would put ahead of these guys, and that's DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner. And that's as high of a praise that I can give these two guys. And the good things doesn't stop there, because Kader Koho is really nice, still very young. Like, is he? Let me check on this one. I'm not sure if he enters second or third season. Yeah, he enters his third season. This is his contract year. He went undrafted, and he should be out there to get a lot of money. It probably won't be with Miami though, because I don't think they will be able to afford to bring him back. And I definitely see him ending a year as at least a good starter. He absolutely surpassed obviously his undrafted pedigree, and he balls out. So in terms of secondary, this is one of the best out there. It really doesn't have a weak link, and like, you can talk perhaps about the depth behind these guys, but there's still like Cam Smith, Nick Needham, like guys that, you know, can play. You are not happy with them out there, but they can play. So we are ending on a high note for this roster breakdown. I would say this team is really kind of Jekyll and Hyde in terms of within their own roster, within some of the phases of their offense and their defense. Like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, exceptional duo, one of the best out there. You know, probably just Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are on the same level as these two guys. And then it's like one of the worst lines. Then Raheem Mostert and Devon A-Chain, wow. But then you go tight ends and kind of wide receiver depth. It's like, oh, With Tua, it's kind of great, but not exceptional. And then you go run defense, and you're like, phew, the cocos. That's Czech for OMG. Or not Czech, it's actually Slovakia. But then pass rush kind of is interesting, and then you go to secondary. Wow, like this is such a weird team because they have some gaping holes and they have some extreme eliteness in several positions. So it's going to be interesting to watch Miami Dolphins this season, and let's just predict them. So therefore, I will go that Tua should play this season. Like, I don't feel like there's that huge of a risk of him actually like suffer that perhaps career-ending injury that I would say that it's within the reasonable realm of possibility for 1 year, though for the duration of his contract probably adds up to, yes, it is up there. With him, with no weaponry, with Mike McDaniel, this secondary, I would say the floor is 7 wins. That's really because I can see this O-line being a huge problem. I can see health being a huge problem for this team. Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, Devon Armstead, Tua, even Tyreek had some issues. Jalen Ramsey had some issues. So Jordan Poyer, obviously with his age, like Calais Campbell with his age, like there are legit injury concerns about this team that I think are within reasonable realm of possibility that they will suffer from a lot of injuries that are not unexpected. So 7 wins still I think is a really respectable floor. And in terms of upside, I would say it's 11. Am I going for 12 or not? No, I actually cannot imagine them cover up this offensive line weakness that well that they would go for 11 wins. And as well, their division is not a complete completely, but obviously they should probably beat Patriots twice. But Buffalo with Josh Allen, you are not beating them twice, I think. And Jets in kind of their special year, you are probably not winning those 2 games as well. So let's say 4-2 in the division is quite a reasonable thing to expect. And then you play the games that are going to be hard to win. Like at Seattle, could be hard. At Colts, could be hard. At Houston, at Cleveland, at home against San Fran, at Rams, at Packers. So you are going on the road against a lot of good teams, and this team doesn't travel that well. So that's also where I'm like, yeah, I think the ceiling is 11 wins. This should be really great team. It should be super fun to watch them, especially kind of newly revamped Buffalo defense against this. We will see if they will finally embarrass kind of Bills for what happened last year, that they kind of late in the season stole their first place and eventually sent them to play at Arrowhead. So week 2, that's kind of a revenge game for this team. But they have to travel. They don't travel that well. They have really tough end of the year. So yeah, 11 wins I think is a ceiling, and it could land them a division win. I don't think that necessarily either Jets or Bills will have a bigger ceiling in terms of really reasonable realm of possibility. So it could land them a division win, which I do believe they really need. I think you can expect them to win 1 playoff game, but more than that, I just don't. So I would say it's going to be similar Dolphins, that for some games they will look like an absolute juggernaut. We will talk about them, we will hype them up, you will see them all over social media with some crazy catch, some crazy throw, some crazy run. And at the end of the day, it just won't land them anything meaningful in terms of playoff success. So I'm down on this team that I would say probably general public is, but that's just my honest opinion. And let's see how that will stick and will hold up with this season. So thank you very much for listening, and join me up for episode 21, or see any of later 19 episodes. They are already on the channel. You can link to the last one and probably now, so you can see it up from K.Go. Thank you very much. Bye bye.